The Galactic Council made a fatal mistake. They laughed when humanity proposed an alliance with the Kelix. Those creatures, Ambassador Vornak sneered. They're insects, barely sentient. What could they possibly offer? The human delegate smiled. 6 months later, that same ambassador would beg for mercy as his flagship burned. This is the story of the galaxy's greatest miscalculation. The Kelix stood only 40 centimeters tall. Their chitinous bodies resembled Earth's praying mantises. They communicated through chemical signals and clicking mandibles. They had no written language, no space travel, no weapons that the Council recognized as threats. By every standard the Galactic Council used to measure civilization, the Kelix were primitives, worthless, harmless. But humans saw something different. Admiral Rebecca Torres knew the truth from the moment she first made contact on Kelix Prime. She watched them build. She watched them organize. She watched them think. They're not primitive, she told Earth Command. They're specialists, and they're brilliant. Earth Command approved first contact protocols. The Council called it a waste of resources. Humanity continues to embarrass itself. Council Director Thel Knox announced publicly, first they reject our guidance, now they court insects. Perhaps they recognize kinship with simple-minded creatures. The insult echoed across every newsfeed in known space. Humanity didn't respond with words, they responded with action. When the Wrecker Empire declared war on the human colonies, everyone expected a quick human defeat. The Wrecker had conquered 40 star systems in 20 years. Their military was legendary. Their cruelty was unmatched. They outnumbered humanity's forces 8-1. The Council prepared to accept humanity's surrender. Then the Kelix arrived. What happened next would rewrite every military doctrine in the galaxy. It would force the Council to question everything they thought they knew about intelligence, warfare, and power, because the Kelix weren't harmless. They were the deadliest weapon the galaxy had ever seen, and humanity had just given them starships. The Galactic Council had ruled for 12,000 years. They maintained order. They prevented wars. They decided which species deserved recognition and which deserved extinction. Their word was law. Membership in the Council meant protection, trade rights, and access to advanced technology. Rejection meant isolation. Or worse, humanity had joined the Council 40 years ago. It hadn't been a smooth relationship. Humans questioned everything. They challenged ancient protocols. They refused to accept decisions without explanation. They formed alliances outside Council approval. Humanity lacks discipline, Council records stated. They prioritize emotional bonds over logical hierarchy. This makes them unreliable partners. The Council tolerated humanity because of their strategic location. 12 human colony worlds sat along critical trade routes. Forcing humans out would disrupt commerce. So the Council endured humanity's constant questioning. Then came the Kelix discovery. Captain David Martinez found Kelix Prime during a routine exploration mission. The planet registered no advanced technology, no energy signatures, no signs of space-worthy civilization. Standard protocol said, scan and move on. Martinez broke protocol. He landed. What he found astonished him. The Kelix had built cities that stretched underground for hundreds of kilometers. Their architecture flowed like organic art. Every structure served multiple purposes. Nothing was wasted. They farmed fungal gardens that produced more nutrition per square meter than any agricultural system Martinez had seen. They managed resources with perfect efficiency, and their society operated like a symphony. Each Kelix knew their role. They coordinated without conflict. They solved problems collectively. One individual would start a task, another would continue it, a third would complete it. Perfect handoffs, zero confusion. They're sharing thoughts, Martinez's xenobiologist, Dr. Patricia Okoye, explained. Not telepathy, chemical communication, pheromones. Each Kelix can transmit complex information through scent. They're not individuals making decisions. They're nodes in a living computer. Martinez sent his report to Earth Command. Earth Command sent it to the Council. The Council's response came within hours. The Kelix do not meet sentience requirements. They have no individual identity, no personal ambition, no creative innovation. They are a hive species operating on instinct. Classification, non-sentient collective organism. Status, not eligible for protection or contact. The report concluded, humanity is forbidden from further interaction. Humanity ignored the order. Admiral Torres arrived at Kelix Prime with a proposal. She brought translators who'd spent months learning Kelix chemical language. She brought gifts of information, not technology. She brought respect. The Kelix Queens, the 5 largest individuals who coordinated their civilization, listened. Torres explained humanity's situation. The Vrekar Empire was expanding. War seemed inevitable. Humanity needed allies who understood coordination and efficiency. "We see your brilliance," Torres said. "We see what others miss. You don't need to be like us to be valuable. You're perfect as you are." The Kelix Queens consulted among themselves. Their decision surprised Torres. They didn't want protection. They didn't want technology. They wanted partnership. "Your kind thinks in lines," the Queens communicated through translated chemical signals. "We think in webs. Together, we see dimensions neither can see alone. We accept your proposal." The alliance formed that day. The Council condemned it immediately. "Humanity has allied with insects," Councillor Vornak announced with barely concealed disgust. "This demonstrates their complete lack of judgment. They anthropomorphize simple creatures. They see intelligence where there is only instinct." Council military advisors were less dismissive. "The Kelix could provide labor," one report suggested. "Their efficiency and resource management might be useful." But the consensus remained. The Kelix were harmless, small, insignificant. That belief would soon be tested, because the Vrekar Empire was coming, and the Kelix had secrets the Council couldn't imagine. Commander James Rooker didn't trust aliens. He'd fought the Draxan raiders at Alpha Centauri. He'd seen what the Morgoth did to civilian ships. He'd spent 15 years protecting human colonies from species that saw humanity as weak. So when Admiral Torres ordered him to accept Kelix advisors on his ship, he nearly refused. "With respect, Admiral, I run a tight ship. My crew knows their roles. I don't need—" "You need to follow orders, Commander," Torres interrupted. "The Kelix aren't passengers. They're strategic assets. You'll understand soon enough." 3 Kelix arrived on Rooker's destroyer, the Hammerfall. They introduced themselves as Observer 723, Builder 4012, and Analyzer 991. Rooker called them 7, Builder, and 9. They didn't seem to care about the shortened names. 7 stood 42 centimeters tall. Its compound eyes reflected light in unsettling ways. Its 4 arms moved with mechanical precision. Its mandibles clicked softly as it communicated with the other Kelix through scent markers. "What exactly do you do?" Rooker asked, trying to sound professional. 7 turned its head at an angle impossible for humans. "We observe. We calculate. We improve." "Improve what?" "Everything." The first mission with Kelix aboard was a patrol run through the Helix Nebula. Routine, boring, standard. Until the ambush. 3 Vrekar raiders appeared from behind a debris field. They'd masked their energy signatures perfectly. By the time Hammerfall's sensors detected them, weapons were already charging. "Evasive maneuvers," Rooker shouted. "Return fire. Get us—" "Commander," 7's clicking voice interrupted. "Permission to access tactical systems." "What? No, my crew handles—" "We have calculated 17 scenarios. 15 result in your ship's destruction. 1 results in moderate damage. One results in victory. You must trust us. Something in Seven's absolute certainty made Rooker hesitate. Do it. What happened next rewired Rooker's understanding of combat. The three Kelix linked to the ship's systems through specialized interfaces Builder had constructed in 3 hours. They didn't control the ship directly. They coordinated it. Seven processed sensor data faster than the ship's AI. It predicted enemy movements 3 steps ahead. Builder rerouted power systems in real time, optimizing shield coverage and weapon charging. 9 analyzed enemy weaknesses, identifying microfractures in armor plating. But the real magic was communication. The Kelix shared information instantly through chemical signals. No delay, no miscommunication. They operated as one mind distributed across 3 bodies. Helm, hard port, 17 degrees, 7 commanded. Weapons, target coordinates uploading. Fire in 2.3 seconds. Engineering, divert reactor 3 to forward shields. Rooker's crew executed. The Hammerfall danced through space like a ship half its size. It dodged weapons fire that should have hit. It returned fire with surgical precision. It exploited weaknesses Rooker's sensors hadn't even detected. The first raider exploded. The second lost its engines and spun into the debris field. The third attempted to flee. Pursuit? Rooker's pilot asked. Negative, Seven clicked. Third ship is transmitting combat data to Rekar Command. This serves our purpose. They must know what they face. The raider escaped. Rooker stared at his tactical display. 3 enemies. 0 friendly casualties. Minimal damage to his ship. Impossible. Except it had just happened. 7, Rooker said slowly. What the hell are you? The Kelix turned its head again. Its mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. We are coordinators, Commander. We see patterns. Your crew has individual excellence, but they do not move as one. They cannot. Their biology prevents true synchronization. We provide the missing connection. You turned my ship into a hive. No, we revealed what your ship could become with proper coordination. Your crew still makes decisions. We simply ensure those decisions align perfectly. Rooker sat down heavily. His ship hadn't just won. It had dominated. 3 Kelix had multiplied his combat effectiveness by factors he couldn't calculate, and according to Torres, humanity had thousands of Kelix ready to serve on ships across the fleet. The Council called you harmless, Rooker muttered. The Council does not understand coordination, Seven replied. They value individual power. They cannot comprehend distributed intelligence. This blindness is their weakness. And our advantage. Precisely. Word of the Hammerfall's victory spread through the fleet. Other commanders requested Kelix advisors. Within weeks, every human warship had Kelix crews integrated into their operations. Combat effectiveness increased by 300%. The Council noticed. Humanity's recent tactical improvements are concerning, an intelligence report stated. Source unknown. Investigate. They had no idea what was coming, because the Wrecker Empire had just declared total war, and the Kelix had only shown humanity the smallest fraction of what they could do. The Wrecker Empire struck without warning. 12 human colonies went silent in a single night. The Wrecker fleet hit fast and brutal. Their strategy was simple: overwhelm, occupy, enslave. They'd used it successfully for decades. Council protocols required a defensive response. Help was coming, eventually. But the Council moved slowly. Committee votes, impact assessments, resource allocation debates. By the time help arrived, the colonies would be ash. Humanity didn't wait for permission. Admiral Torres mobilized every available ship. 50 destroyers, 20 cruisers, 5 carriers, against an estimated 200 Wrecker warships. The numbers were suicide. We can't win this straight up, Torres told her command staff. We don't have the firepower. We don't have the numbers. But we Have coordination, Lieutenant Commander Stella Park added, gesturing to the Kelix advisors present. We have them. Observer 723 clicked its agreement. Conventional tactics favor the Wrecker. They expect you to fight as individuals commanding individual ships. This plays to their strengths. What's the alternative? Torres asked. Stop thinking of your fleet as separate vessels. Think of it as a single organism, like us. Torres understood immediately. A hive fleet. Your words, Admiral, but accurate. The strategy was revolutionary. Every ship in the fleet would have Kelix coordinators integrated into their systems. Those coordinators would link with each other through quantum-encrypted communication channels the Kelix had helped humanity build. The entire fleet would share tactical data instantly. Every ship would know what every other ship was doing. Maneuvers would synchronize perfectly. Attacks would come from optimal angles simultaneously. No wasted movement, no miscommunication, no delays. It's never been done, Torres's tactical officer warned. Coordinating that many ships in real time, the processing requirements alone are simple for us, Seven interrupted. We coordinate millions of individuals across our world. Your fleet is a small task. The human fleet deployed to the Kessler system, where the Wrecker had established a forward base. The Wrecker commander, Warlord Krax Thor, watched them come. 50 human ships, he growled to his officers. They're desperate. They're weak. We'll crush them in one engagement. Prepare for standard dispersal pattern. We outnumber them 4-1. His fleet moved into position. The human fleet did something unexpected. They moved as one, not in formation. That was normal. This was different. They flowed like a school of fish. Like a murmuration of starlings, each ship occupied the exact position that maximized offensive capability while minimizing vulnerability. What are they doing? Krax Thor demanded. His tactical officer had no answer. The battle began. The Wrecker opened fire with devastating barrages, enough firepower to vaporize a moon. The human ships weren't there. They'd moved 2.3 seconds before weapons discharged. Every ship, simultaneously, to positions the Wrecker targeting computers hadn't predicted. Return fire came from 47 different angles at once. Wrecker shields, designed to absorb frontal assault, couldn't cover every vector. 12 Wrecker ships took critical hits in the first exchange. Impossible, Krax Thor roared. No fleet can coordinate like that. They can't process data that fast. But they weren't processing it. The Kelix were. Across 50 human ships, hundreds of Kelix coordinators shared information through quantum channels. They calculated trajectories, predicted enemy movements, optimized firing solutions. They transformed chaos into mathematics. The human fleet struck again and again. Each attack came from unpredictable positions. Each targeting solution was perfect. Each maneuver was impossibly synchronized. The Wrecker tried to adapt. They switched to scatter tactics. The human fleet scattered with them, maintaining optimal attack positions. They tried to focus fire on individual ships. The fleet's defensive positioning shifted instantly, spreading damage across shield systems that rotated on perfect timing. They tried to retreat. The human fleet predicted the withdrawal routes and positioned interceptors. In 3 hours, the Wrecker lost 70 ships. The humans lost 2. Krax Thor stared at his tactical display in disbelief. He commanded the Empire's finest fleet. He'd conquered worlds. He'd never lost, but he wasn't fighting humans. He was fighting something that thought faster, moved smarter, and coordinated beyond anything he'd imagined possible. Withdraw, he ordered, his voice hollow. Send word to the War Council. Tell them something has changed. The human fleet let them go. Why not pursue? Commander Rooker asked from the Hammerfall. Because we want them to report exactly what they saw, Seven explained. Fear is a weapon. Let them spread it. News of the Kessler system battle reached the Galactic Council within days. The reaction was immediate. Request detailed combat logs from human fleet, Council Director Thelnox ordered. Something is wrong. No force that size defeats a Rekar fleet. The logs revealed the truth. Every human ship had moved with impossible coordination. Response times were superhuman. Tactical decisions were optimal beyond probability. They're using AI, Councillor Vornak suggested. Illegal military AI. That's the only explanation. But the logs showed human commanders making final decisions. No AI signatures, no automated systems, just humans. And Kelix. The insects, Thelnox said slowly. They're doing this. The Council pulled every file on the Kelix. They analyzed the species with new urgency. What they found terrified them, because the Kelix weren't just good at coordination. They were evolved for it, and humanity had just given them the greatest tool for coordination ever invented. Starships with quantum communication systems. The Council had dismissed the Kelix as harmless. They'd made a catastrophic mistake. Council xenobiologist Dr. Velmoran finally understood. The report sat on his desk like a bomb. The Kelix aren't simple, he dictated into his recorder, hands shaking. They're the most sophisticated collective intelligence in known space. We missed it because we used the wrong metrics. He'd studied the Kelix physiology for 3 weeks. What he found rewrote his understanding of intelligence itself. Every Kelix possessed a neural cluster that functioned like a biological quantum processor. It didn't generate independent thought like human brains. It generated partial thoughts, incomplete calculations, half-formed solutions, fragments of ideas. But when Kelix came within pheromone range of each other, those fragments linked. Their neural clusters synchronized. They began processing information collectively. 2 Kelix working together didn't just double processing power, they increased it exponentially. 3 Kelix became a supercomputer. 10 became something that could outcalculate Council military AI. 100 became something that could predict fleet movements days in advance. And humanity had given them ships with quantum communication that let them link across light years. They're not individuals coordinating, Velmoran whispered. They're neurons in a brain that can span solar systems. The report explained everything. The Kelix on each human ship weren't just advisors. They were nodes in a distributed consciousness that encompassed the entire fleet. Every Kelix coordinator shared sensory input, tactical data, and processing power with every other Kelix in range. The human fleet had become one vast thinking entity, but it got worse. The Kelix had been holding back. During the Kessler system battle, they'd limited themselves to tactical coordination. They'd let human commanders make strategic decisions. They'd functioned as advisors. That was their agreement with humanity. Partnership, not control. But the Kelix were capable of so much more. Analyze this, Velmoran ordered his assistant, pulling up footage from the battle. Watch the human ship movements. Now compare them to optimal tactical solutions generated by our best military AI. The assistant ran the analysis. Her face went pale. The human ships moved better than optimal. They found solutions the AI classified as impossible. They exploited weaknesses that shouldn't have been detectable with their sensor technology. Exactly, Velmoran said. The Kelix aren't just coordinating, they're improving human capabilities. They're processing sensor data in ways our technology can't match. They're seeing patterns that require computational power we don't have. He pulled up another file. And this is what they did with 40 days of preparation. The file showed Kelix-designed modifications to human ships, new power routing systems that increased efficiency by 40%, hull reinforcements that added minimal weight but doubled structural integrity, weapons targeting systems that reduced firing delays by critical fractions of a second. They've improved human military technology more in 6 months than humanity did in 20 years, Velmoran said. Because they see inefficiencies we can't detect. They optimize systems we think are already optimal. His assistant asked the question Velmoran had been dreading. What happens if they decide they don't want to be partners? Velmoran had no answer. Back on the Hammerfall, Commander Rooker was having the same thoughts. 7, he said carefully. Can I ask you something? The Kelix turned from its station. Of course, Commander. You're clearly more capable than you've shown. You could probably run this ship without any human crew. So why don't you? 7's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Because we don't want to. That's it? That's the only thing stopping you? Commander, you misunderstand our nature. We don't desire control. Control is a concept for individual organisms competing for resources. We don't compete. We optimize. What's the difference? Competition requires defeating others. Optimization requires improving systems. Your species builds ships. We improve how those ships function. Your species makes decisions. We improve the information those decisions are based on. We don't want your role. We want partnership. One is insufficient without the other. But you could take over if you wanted. We could also stop breathing if we wanted. The capability exists. The desire does not. Rooker wasn't entirely reassured. But he believed 7. The Kelix had shown restraint when they could have shown domination. They'd accepted support roles when they could have demanded leadership. They'd enhanced human capability rather than replacing it. That meant something. It had to. Because humanity had bet everything on this alliance. And the Vrekar Empire was coming back, with a fleet 10 times larger. The Council learned of the Vrekar mobilization through their intelligence network. The Vrekar War Council is sending everything, the report stated. 400 ships, they're calling it the Human Extermination Fleet. Councillor Vornak addressed the chamber. The Vrekar will destroy humanity. Then they'll claim human territory. This threatens Council interests. We must act. Director Thelnox nodded slowly. Agreed. Send word to Admiral Torres. The Council offers support. In exchange, humanity must provide full disclosure on Kelix capabilities. The message reached Torres within hours. Her response was immediate. Tell the Council to send their fleet. We'll share information after the battle. Not before. The Council was outraged. Humanity refuses cooperation even when facing extinction. But they sent the fleet anyway, because they had to see what the Kelix could really do. They were about to get their answer. The Vrekar extermination fleet arrived at humanity's stronghold system, New Harmony. 400 warships. The largest military deployment in Vrekar history. Warlord Kraxthor commanded from his dreadnought, the Blood Throne. He'd spent 3 months preparing. He'd studied every scrap of data from Kessler's system. He'd developed new tactics. He wouldn't make the same mistakes. Maintain dispersed formation, he ordered. Independent firing solutions. No predictable patterns. Force them to fight 200 individual battles. The human fleet numbered 90 ships now. Reinforcements from Earth had arrived. The Council had sent 30 vessels to observe. Still outnumbered 4-1. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Indomitable. Observer 723 stood beside her. They've learned from last time, Torres observed. Yes, 7 agreed. They will try to overwhelm us through chaos. Make coordination impossible. Can we counter it? Admiral, we've been preparing for this moment since our alliance began. The Vrekar think they know what we can do. They've seen tactical coordination. They haven't seen true integration. Torres felt a chill run down her spine. What are you saying? We would like your permission to operate at full capability. Not as advisors, as partners. Your crews maintain command. But we coordinate everything. Every system, every weapon, every maneuver. Complete synchronization. That's a lot of control to give you. Yes, it requires trust. We understand if you refuse. Torres looked at the tactical display. 400 enemy ships. If they fought conventionally, humanity would be extinct in 6 hours. Do it, she said. Show them what you really are. 7 clicked acknowledgement. Across the human fleet, Kelix coordinators received the authorization. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The human ships didn't just move together. They moved as one organism with 90 bodies. Power systems synchronized perfectly, sharing energy through the fleet. When one ship's shields weakened, others adjusted position to cover it. When one ship's weapons recharged, others created firing opportunities. The fleet became a living thing. The Wrecker opened fire with overwhelming force, thousands of weapons discharging simultaneously. The human fleet phased. They didn't dodge. They flowed through the attack pattern like water through rocks. Every ship moved to a position where overlapping fields of fire couldn't reach. They occupied the gaps in the Wrecker barrage. Return fire was surgical. 90 human ships fired as one, targeting a single Wrecker vessel. Its shields, designed to withstand massive damage, couldn't handle perfectly synchronized strikes that hit the same point within microseconds of each other. The ship exploded. The fleet shifted targets. Another Wrecker ship died, then another. "Impossible," Thor roared. "They can't be that precise. No organic crew can time weapons that perfectly." His tactical officer's voice shook. "Sir, the timing isn't just precise. It's perfect. Down to quantum. Fluctuations in their targeting systems. They're compensating for random variants that shouldn't be predictable." Because the Kelix weren't predicting, they were calculating in real time, adjusting for every variable simultaneously across 90 ships. The Wrecker fleet tried to adapt. They focused overwhelming fire on single human ships. The targeted ships didn't evade. They absorbed the damage while the rest of the fleet repositioned. Shields across multiple vessels linked through the Kelix network, distributing damage loads. Engineering systems rerouted power faster than Wrecker gunners could retarget. By the time a human ship took critical damage, it had bought time for 10 others to destroy 20 Wrecker vessels. The mathematics was brutal. The Wrecker tried ramming attacks. The human fleet predicted the trajectories and used the Wrecker's own momentum against them, positioning disabled hulks to block attack runs. They tried electronic warfare. The Kelix quantum network was unhackable by Wrecker technology. They tried to retreat. The human fleet had already positioned interceptors on every escape vector. The Council fleet watched in stunned silence. "Are you seeing this?" Councillor Vornak whispered aboard his flagship. "It's not possible," his tactical officer replied. "The coordination required, the processing power. Even our best military AI couldn't manage this many variables." "That's because we're not watching AI," Vornak said slowly. "We're watching evolution. The Kelix aren't technology. They're biology operating at technological speeds." On the Blood Throne, Thor made his final decision. "Full retreat, all ships, emergency protocols, jump immediately." Half his fleet was already destroyed. The survivors scattered, jumping to random coordinates. The battle was over. Humanity had won. 400 Wrecker ships had attacked. 83 escaped. The human fleet had lost 14 vessels. Admiral Torres sat down slowly. 7, she said quietly. "That was extraordinary." "That was necessary," the Kelix replied. "The Wrecker will not threaten you again. We ensured they saw exactly what coordination means. Fear will keep them away." Councillor Vornak requested communication. His hologram appeared on the Indomitable's bridge. His expression was complex. Fear, respect, uncertainty. "Admiral Torres," he said formally, The Council may have underestimated your allies." Torres allowed herself a small smile. "Yes, you did. We would like to formally discuss the Kelix, their capabilities, their intentions. The Council must understand what we witnessed." "The Kelix are our partners," Torres said firmly. "Not weapons, not tools, partners. If the Council wants to understand them, you'll treat them with the respect they deserve." Vornak nodded slowly. "Understood." The Council extends official recognition to the Kelix as a sentient species. We apologize for our previous assessment. 7 turned its head toward the hologram. Apology accepted, Counselor. We understand. You measure intelligence by what you understand. We are different. This creates confusion, but confusion can become understanding. We welcome dialogue. The conversation ended. Torres looked at 7. You saved us. No, Admiral. We fought together. You provided ships, courage, and strategic vision. We provided coordination. Neither is sufficient alone. Together, we are formidable. That was always the point of our alliance. Torres realized something fundamental in that moment. The Kelix weren't weapons humanity had acquired. They were partners humanity had earned. There's a difference, and that difference just saved the human race. The Galactic Council called an emergency session 3 days after the battle. For the first time in 12,000 years, they admitted they'd been wrong. Director Thelnox addressed the assembly with unusual humility. We measured the Kelix by our standards. We looked for individual achievement, personal ambition, technology we recognized. We found none of these things. So we dismissed them. He paused, letting the words sink in. We were fools. The chamber remained silent. The Kelix represent a form of intelligence we didn't understand. Distributed consciousness, collective processing. They don't think like us. They think better than us. In coordination, in optimization, in pure computational efficiency. And humanity recognized this, Counselor Vornak added. While we laughed at them, humanity saw value where we saw weakness. They offered partnership where we offered dismissal. The Council voted unanimously. The Kelix were granted full sentient status. They received voting privileges. They earned protection under Council law. More importantly, they earned respect. Observer 723 represented the Kelix at the formal recognition ceremony. Its small frame stood at the podium, mandibles clicking softly. We thank the Council for recognition. 7 communicated through translators. But recognition was never our goal. Optimization was our goal. We found partners who valued collaboration, who saw difference as strength rather than weakness, who offered respect before demanding proof. Humanity gave us the galaxy. 7 continued. We helped them defend it. This is what partnership means. Not dominance, not submission, but synergy, the whole becoming greater than parts. The speech lasted 3 minutes. It changed galactic politics forever. Within months, 17 species requested Kelix partnerships. They wanted coordinators on their fleets, advisors in their governments, partners in their expansion. The Kelix accepted selectively. We cannot partner with those who seek tools, they explained. We partner with those who seek equals. Humanity's status in the Council elevated dramatically. They went from tolerated members to respected leaders. Their advocacy for the Kelix proved they could see beyond surface-level assessments. The Vrekar Empire sued for peace. Their terms were generous, almost desperate. They offered reparations, territory, trade concessions, anything to avoid another engagement. The Human Kelix Alliance accepted. War is inefficient, 7 explained to Admiral Torres. Victory achieved. Further conflict serves no purpose. We optimize for peace now. Torres agreed. Commander Rooker visited Kelix Prime 6 months after the final battle. He walked through the underground cities. He watched the Kelix coordinate their society with effortless grace. Builder 4012 approached him. Commander Rooker, you seem contemplative. I'm trying to understand, Rooker admitted. You could have conquered us. You could have used us. Instead, you partnered with us. Why? Because conquest is limitation, Builder replied. When you conquer, you gain resources but lose perspective. When you partner, you gain both. Humanity sees what we cannot see. You create where we optimize. You dream where we calculate. Together, We are complete. You're saying you need us? As much as you needed us. Perhaps more, because you taught us something crucial. What's that? Builder's mandibles clicked in what Rooker had learned to recognize as affection. That different can mean better. That weakness in isolation becomes strength in combination. That the greatest power isn't domination, it's cooperation. Rooker smiled. He had started this partnership with suspicion. He'd ended it with friendship. That seemed fitting. Back on Earth, memorial services honor the 14 ships lost in the final battle. 2,000 crew members had died defending humanity. The Kelix attended every service. They didn't fully understand human grief, but they understood loss. They understood sacrifice. They stood with their partners and mourned in their own way. Observer 723 delivered a eulogy that surprised everyone. These humans died protecting us as much as protecting themselves. They could have abandoned partnership when war came. They could have used us as shields. Instead, they fought beside us. This is why we value them, not for their ships, not for their technology, but for their character. The eulogy was 7 sentences. It said everything that needed saying. The galaxy had changed. The Council had learned humility. Humanity had proven wisdom, and the Kelix had found partners worthy of their capabilities. The galaxy learned a lesson that day. Never judge by appearance, never dismiss by size, never underestimate what others call harmless. The Kelix stood 40 centimeters tall. They'll continue. But they thought in dimensions the Council couldn't comprehend. Humanity saw that. They saw past instinct and prejudice. They saw potential where others saw primitiveness, and together they became unstoppable. That's the power of real partnership, not using others, not controlling them, but elevating each other. The Council called them insects. Humanity called them equals. One perspective led to mockery. The other led to survival. Choose your perspective carefully, because the galaxy is full of surprises, and the smallest voices sometimes carry the greatest wisdom. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button. Subscribe for more HFY content where humanity shows the galaxy what we're really made of. Drop a comment telling me which moment shocked you most. Was it the first battle, the final fleet engagement, or Seven's speech to the Council? Share this with someone who loves sci-fi where humans win through intelligence, not just firepower. And remember, the galaxy is huge, full of different minds, different perspectives, different strengths. The winners aren't always the strongest. Sometimes they're the wisest. The ones who know that together, we're always better than apart. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, and never dismiss what you don't understand. It might just save your life.